because you're four-way EQ. So you've got a high mid point and a mid low point.
Oh, you don't actually sweep it.
Yeah, it's not sweeping. It's just next to the mid
taking
point.
out the different mid, right?
Yeah, so it's two mid points. You've got high mid, low mid,
lower mid,
low. So it's just a four-way EQ.
Yeah.
You've got your low-cut filters, which you know about.
Yeah.
Which are set at 75 hertz on his desk.
Yeah.
So any vocal, acoustic guitar, they're on.
They're on, yeah. All of ours have always been on because we've never taken any bass in. So
yeah, fine. Yeah, the only instruments you wouldn't use them on, bass drum, guitar, bass drum,
yeah.
lower tom.
Right.
If you had a keyboard or sampler.
If I was using an overhead because it's taking a vast amount
sampler,
of
I would probably, if you were using it on its own, you'd leave it out.
Right.
If you're using it with a bass drum, you'd probably pop it in.
Right. Okay.
All right. You probably wouldn't need it on. Even on rhythm guitar, lead guitar, there's not enough bass there, so you might as well pop them on those as well.
That's just taking away any information that's not really there, is
exactly, yeah, exactly. And it's helping with feedback, it's helping keep the signal a bit cleaner.
Right.
And it's just helping.
And stuff like that,
exactly, yeah, all that sort of good stuff. When the channels, to turn them on, you just assign it to a subgroup or to the main channel.
Yeah.
So either subgroups 1 and 2 or 3
so
or 4.
The vocals will be going to the mains and
straight
the
to main, probably. Yeah, it's probably the only drums you lose a subgroup because your 3 or 4 mics can be controlled from one level.
And maybe two guitars or something.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, you know, if you want to keep the 2 guitars on one subgroup, you can do that as well. All right, so solo in place works exactly the same as PFL. It works very similar to PFL anyway. Same principle. So you can just check your levels.
Is a PFL? Is it a PFL indicator on you?
Yeah, solo in place.
Is PFL in there?
Yeah, well, you can make it solo in place or PFL, AFL. So
right.
you can switch it. That's solo. That's PFL.
PFL.
I normally probably PFL is where you leave it. Yeah, so you can just check your levels come in. The other things, obviously, your built-in effects is on number 4 auxiliary.
Yeah.
The effects, and it says INT for internal look.
Yeah.
And then FX on the other one is EXT for external.
Right.
If you wish to use your external effects processor.
Effects,
yeah. The rest.
But that's pre-signed then for the effects until you put an auxiliary in.
Yeah. Number 4 is definitely.
Yeah. Right.
Number 4 will only cancel out when you plug.
Number 3 is always.
Number 3 is always external effects. Number 2 is the switchable one, so you can make it post or pre, depending on what you do that. But you are probably going to be using it as monitor. Yeah. So these 2 will be your monitors. Those 2 will be your effects, if you like. You know.
Yeah.
So that's the monitor effects there for the AUX ones.
I'm sure I'll always turn his monitor up.
Your masters then, obviously, for auxiliaries. So these are your individual auxiliaries.
Yeah.
And then that's your master auxiliary. So these are up in the position you want, but these down, you're not going to hear anything.
Yeah.
Effects or monitoring.
Yeah,
so these guys have to be up for you to hear. For obviously the effects to work, you've also got an auxiliary send here.
And there's the presets, that's right. I thought there was 2 because you got 2.
Yeah, one is presets and the other one's variations.
Oh, you can.
So your presets is what you see.
Will always be that, and then you can.
And then this will give you variations on that.
Well, so you can save.
Not save, no, it's simply that if I choose number 1 vocal, which is on right now, once I've chosen number 1 vocal, I got 16 variations.
Oh, right.
How severe it is, or how light it is.
Yeah, it's just how, if it's a slightly darker reverb, slightly longer reverb, you got. If you like that, but you want one a bit longer, you'll probably find one in there somewhere.
Oh, I got you.
Cool. Right? And likewise for number 2, likewise for number 3, whatever one you choose, you've then got variations.
You didn't have that before, did we?
No, definitely not.
All right. So that's the way that works. The auxiliary sends whatever you turn these guys, that just sends the effects to the auxiliary. So if you wanted to hear a bit of effects on the monitor, that's where you have to turn up.
Okay.
I normally keep those down low. Otherwise, your vocalist will get a bit lazy and hear himself, thinks it sounds great.
Thinks it sounds brilliant, and this is what I'm trying to tell you. You should never have effects to your monitor. You want it sounding great.
You don't want it too much. You want it. You can have a little bit if you want, but you don't want it. If you hear your voice with effects, you will hear a note and you will stop early, and then it'll actually affect.
That's what I'm telling you that.
Yeah. Cool. You want to keep it as dry as you can manage, because that way it'll sound better up front.
Good. Oh, see him backing me up.
That's so
finally as well, for the effects to work back into the mixer, the effects out also has to be turned up. So again, if this your effects are down here, so if your effects you set those to what other person wants effects on their voice, drums, etc., that's going to be turned up to send signal to the effects processor. This then is going to be turned up to return it back into the desk.
Okay.
So that's your master control for the
that's your overall.
That's
out.
the one back in.
Right.
So if you have to back these guys down because you're overloading the effects and you're peaking, you can back it down here on the master.
Right.
But then if you're missing a bit of effects, you can add it back on there.
So that's actually a peak solely for the effects.
If you see that peaking, and it's peaking a lot, you've got too much signal coming in. So either if it's a guilty culprit, if it's the vocalist and he's just really going for it and his individual level's a bit too high, back that off a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
But if everybody's just a little bit too high, then just back off the master a little bit. And then if it's not quite enough effects coming back into the mix, just turn up the effects out.
All right. Oh, that's...
I think that there's some quirky stuff here, but in all honesty, your best bet is to hit the manual on that, because I can't even remember half those do there.
Okay.
You've got a main mix, but that's to do with your headphones, send and return, and control room. You're not going to use that because you're not using it as a recording desk. There is one little button which we need to know about, which I think is that main mix there. If that's not hit down,
that don't work.
The effects back into the main mix doesn't get through.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only other quirk, if I remember right.
That's weird.
It's a weird one, yeah. I don't know why Alto have done that. There are a few of the manufacturers who do these quirky little things from time to time. So. But that's why it's got a manual, so I'd recommend is you get it out of rehearsal, set it all up and use it, and have a little play with it. It's just, you just got to get familiar with it again.
Yeah.
All right. And if you do get stuck in anything, just give me a shout and I'll double check it for you.
Cool.
It's good.
And I'll